Alright guys, today I'm going to be installing some chase lights on the 4Runner. I'm going to put them on the back of the Sherpa rack up here. We've got lots of places to mount them on these cross rails. These are the lights that I'm using. These are from Nilight. They sent these over to me. They look clear, but these are actually a yellow light. I'm not sure what the temperature is. Here we go. It looks like these are between 1400 and 1600 Kelvin. So that's a pretty yellow light. And that's what you want to be cutting through, dust and snow and rain and stuff. So if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, what are chase lights in the first place? Well, originally chase lights were meant for off-roading in groups. And essentially, if you got your buddies and trucks behind you and you're in a dry kind of a trail, it's pretty easy to get lost in the dust. And next thing you know, the guy's slamming into the back of you when you stop or something. So the idea is to have like a nice bright yellow light or two on the back of your vehicle. And you can turn these on whenever you want. Now, a lot of people, I'm not exactly off-roading in the desert very often here in Ontario, but they also come in really handy for bad weather. And there's been plenty of situations here when it comes to snowstorms where, you're stuck on the 401 or something and you're really worried about getting rear-ended, like somebody flying up behind you. Again, same concept. Somebody can't tell that you're stopped or you're driving slowly and they rear-end you. So these would come in really handy for that as well. And that's the main purpose that I want them for, is for really bad visibility and bad storms and stuff. So we're mounting these today. These are cute little guys. They come with a bracket on the back and pretty simple wiring. So I got the wiring harness from Nilight as well, just to have kind of more of a plug-and-play setup. And I am going to be chopping off like the relay and the fuse and stuff off of this. It seems kind of wasteful maybe, but it doesn't hurt to have extras in the toolbox of that stuff. But I am going to be wiring this into my aux beam switch panel, which you probably saw me install in a previous video. So I don't have to worry about the fuse and the relay and stuff like that, but I do want all the wiring and the nice kind of wire loom that these harnesses come wrapped up in. I didn't feel like taking the time making my own from scratch. One issue that I've already run into, I attempted to film this video about a week ago. This is supposed to be a 10-foot wiring harness, and you would think 10 feet going from here on the back of the roof rack, I'm going to run the wire across the roof to the battery in the engine bay. You would think, 10 feet is more than enough wiring for that, but the issue that I had was that they advertised it as a 10-foot wiring harness, but it's actually like half that, because they also include the length of the wire to the switch in the cabin. So I had to go ahead and buy an extension, which this is the same packaging, I guess. You can't tell the difference between the two, but so I can just plug this in to extend that wiring harness, and that should give me more than enough wiring to be able to get to the back and across to the other one and then run it cleanly. I think I'm actually going to run it on the passenger side because the driver's side has the wiring for that front light bar. And so I already have the wires running on this side of the windshield, tucked inside of this weather stripping. So I'm going to put the chase light one on that side just to avoid having a big chunk of wiring going down to the same spot. Real quick before we get started, check this out. A guy called Brian reached out to me, and he started a new company that is going to be supplying parts for these 4th Gen 4Runners. It's called Savage Wolf Off-Road, and they're starting by making these grab handles for roof racks. And he's actually making his own roof rack for these 4th gens, which looks pretty good too. It's very similar to this Sherpa rack that I have. Similar kind of a design, but so he has his own, and these grab handles were a part of his roof rack design. But he reached out to me and he's like, listen, I think your Sherpa rack is built with the same materials and kind of the same style as mine, and I think my handles are going to work on your rack too. So I can officially confirm that these grab handles do indeed work on the Sherpa rack. Check it out though, he's got his logo cut out here, and this is like skateboard grip tape. It's super grabby, so even when it's wet, if you're in the pouring rain and you want to put your foot on the tire or on your rock slider or something, and you want to climb up here to mount stuff, whether you're trying to grab your Max Tracks or you're trying to get up on your rooftop tent or whatever, it can be helpful to have something solid to grab onto. And these things are definitely that. They are solid. I can shake the whole vehicle. Thought you guys might find that interesting. I think he's going to be selling these for about $125 a pair when he starts producing them. So I'm going to throw his contact info on the screen here if you want to check him out. Okay, so I got the eye bolts mounted inside the cross rail here. And I need one for each light. A bit of a pain in the neck here. This is why I recommend you guys just get the proper mounts from Sherpa for this roof rack, because their T-bolts will come in at an angle. You can just stick them right in and then pop them straight on. These ones are a little bit too tall, and so I have to slide them in this way. And it's no big deal on the other cross rails. It's just a matter of loosening off these bolts and taking the cross rail up. But in this case, this is the one that's mounted to the roof itself. And so you can't just pry it up. And anyways, I had to loosen all of these bolts off to be able to pry this side plate out, just to barely squeeze those in. But long story short, I got them in. All right, so I got the passenger side one mounted. And I think the way that I mounted these, the location, might be a little controversial, because I know they're probably supposed to stick up a little bit higher in order to clear the spoiler on the back here. Now, my main concern is actually with my overall clearance. I just don't want anything sticking up too high, and having it flush with the rack like this, I don't have to worry about height clearance anywhere I go, including in and out of this garage. Yeah, the spoiler does block it a little bit from this angle, but I feel like these lights are gonna be bright enough that I'm not necessarily using these to illuminate the way so I can see where I'm going. It's more just to have kind of a warning light for people. And I think they'll still serve the purpose like that while being nice and low profile, tucked in there. And I like that they're kind of hidden too. You can't really see that they're there when they're turned off. I think that's a really clean look. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the other one on this side now. All right, we got them mounted, and I think they're looking pretty good. Nice and tucked in, and I mean, once we get them turned on, we'll find out if they're gonna create enough light. I think the spoiler isn't gonna block them too much, but I really like how low profile this setup is. So, next up is everybody's favorite, at least definitely not mine, wiring. All right, quick little update for you guys. I'm being a horrible YouTuber right now. Not doing a very good job of documenting this, but I have these both wired in. I have this one coming across here, and I'm not sure how to even show you, but the wiring is going through inside the channel of the cross rail, so it's tucked up nice and tight, nice and clean. So I got my other connection here, so both of these are tied together in the same wiring, and now we're just gonna go along this side of the rack, down the windshield, and then into the engine bay. One thing I wanted to show you guys, I did change the connectors that came on this. This is what came with the wiring harness. These guys, and you kind of just plug them in, slide these rubber caps over. I don't feel like that's like the most, weatherproof solution. So I've been using these guys. These are pretty cool. I just got these on Amazon, but essentially you just crimp the butt connector with the two wires together, but then you can heat the center up with a heat gun, and there's actually a little bit of solder in there. So I feel like that's a better connection. And then I'm wrapping it up with electrical tape on top of that as well. A little bit of wiring exposed here coming off the back of the light. It's unavoidable, unfortunately. The wiring has to go somewhere, right? So it's not going across this back rail, because then the zip ties are gonna be exposed when you're looking from the back. I put it on this rail, which is hidden a little bit further up. And I just have a zip tie on this side, tucking it in tight here. So again, you can see the wiring runs along, I just farted. The wiring runs along the inside channel of the cross rail. Now I'll show you the length of the original harness that I bought to go with this. This goes to about the fairing, and that's not going to do it. You can see how we're running it. I'm going to tuck this all up on the inside, of course. But anyways, I'm going to make the connection, hopefully underneath this fairing. I think is really good because, again, it's kind of weatherproof. I'll seal it up really well as on top of that, but it doesn't hurt to have it protected from the elements physically as well. And then we'll go down this seal on the windshield and then across the cowl over to the switch panel. One step at a time. All right, update time. I've got the wiring run along this side plate of the roof rack here. And you can kind of see it like running along a little bit. Unfortunately, you can't like fully hide it just because of the design. It is all kind of out in the open, but I made my connection for my extension behind the fairing here. And you can see where the wire comes in. If you have to really look for it in order to notice it. but it's tucked up inside here pretty nicely. And then just like on the other side, go and watch my light bar video if you want to see exactly how I ran all this. It's a little bit more in depth. I just did the same thing on the other side and popped off this cap under here, in behind here, and then across the wiper cowl. And here we are at the switch panel. So I'm just gonna splice these guys and screw them in here. This is very straightforward. I love this thing. This number one is my bumper light bar down there. And number two here is the light bar on the roof rack. Now, I just added number three. That's gonna be the chase lights. So let's go ahead and see how badly I screwed up the wiring on this. Now remember, with these switch panels, you gotta have the key on in order to have power to these lights. And that's not for everybody, but it's taking a little bit of getting used to for me, but I'm okay with it. So for starters, let's try, we have our bumper light bar on and off. And roof light bar on the roof, good to go. And chase lights. We have chase lights. Let's go take a look. There we go. They look good, actually. I think, those are bright. Holy crap. It's safe to say that the spoiler is not going to be blocking them, I don't think. So, I think we should be good to go. Man, these things are bright. Yeah, there we go, guys. We got chase lights.